It's a beautiful week. It's Parshas Baloischa, Sanedis. Davisha should help that every one of us should have the schus to be able to light the kindle of neshama of another Jew, and in that schus, Davisha should kindle our neshama. I want to start off with an interesting thing. Um, there was a story that was published in Ami Living. It's a magazine. It's a very nice magazine. Every magazine for who it's made. I have these magazines have a place. They're good for people. Amol the Yidden, the Weiblach, the Balachuvas, the Yidden, was affen. Familien dir is the best. Man can öffnen a Gemara Rashi Toisvus. And that's what we should be doing. Or if you're a little want to relax, to learn a little Medrash Rabbah Mevorshim. But there is a room for these magazines, and it's good for the Yiddelach that need it. It's good. Anyway, there was a story that was published. One more thing, there's they sell a magazine. They have a section for the women and for the children. So the magazine itself is mamish zero to read. Politics, narishkeit. The mamish has nothing to read. For the women, there's something. It's a little bit from time to time. My wife tells me something interesting, and for the children, Dafka, there's interesting things. Funny. Anyway, yeah, yeah, yeah. So no,
hopefully it's advertisement.
yeah, exactly. So they had an interesting story, huh? And it's not cheap, no. But but this inspirational story was really kedai. So basically, in the women's section last week, they had a story like this. There's a city, um, 3 hours from Nashville, Tennessee, Star, Tennessee, 350 residents. The mayor is also the pastor. Christopher,
Any Jews?
no Jews. Christopher, well, you have to hear the story. I can't ruin the story before we start. Um, Christopher Benjamin is the pastor of the city. He's also the mayor. And the Sunday morning, there's a breakfast and there's a droshe, mekumt, come far and wide. As far as Nashville, Tennessee, people come to hear the droshe and the Chidush Torah. Um, he's he's also a rabid anti-Semite, and his droshes halt befedish droshes against the Yidden, including that the blood libels are emes, v'chulu v'chulu, mamash, like the real the McCoy, the real deal, anti-Semite. He They have 10 children, and the youngest son was Mutzlach, was a smart kid, and he went to college and in Tennessee. And he's getting a degree, and he's getting a higher degree. And his father asked him to help him Sunday when he finishes his drosha. People line up to ask shilas. So and it seemed that his father was grooming him to be his successor. So and a lot of people line up to fragen shilas, and and a person asks a shilah to the young pastor, to Benjamin Jr. In the Bible, in the Bible states that you're supposed to keep Shabbos. Shabbos is 6 days you work, and Shabbos you're supposed to rest. So why don't we keep? And this kid is a brilliant kid. He knew the whole Bible Baal Peh. Give us Bible Baal Peh. Give us the Bible Baal Peh. A gifted kid. So he said, "It's a good question. I don't know the answer." He asked his father. His father said, "Er weiß nicht der So he'll fragen the bishop next time he goes to Nashville. As he'll fragen the bishop Dorton. He would go Sunday night. He would go to Nashville. So he'll fragen Dorton the Shaila. He went to Nashville. Had gekommen to the bishop. Had gefragt the Shaila, and he didn't get a satisfactory answer. And it bothered him. He started to research.
Mhm.
The meantime, his father's the Chazan to Samit, and he saw there was a rabbi in New York, and say his full name, Rabbi Hillel, and he saw there was a television program, a radio program, and the guy was so articulate and so clear, and his father talks about the Eden, so negatively, and this guy seems so personable. So he wrote an email to this guy, Rabbi Hill, saying he has shilas about Yiddishkeit. He wants to, if he can give him an answer. So Rabbi Hill wrote back, if you're interested in the truth and you're willing to go wherever it takes you. Hmm. So he didn't know what it means, and he didn't. That was it. It was a Shabbos. He was walking past an Orthodox shul in Nashville, and he heard "Okay, Lord," and whatever. He heard them singing. So he walked into the shul, and he put in a yarmulke. In the foyer, they had a box of yarmulkes. He put in the yarmulke.
For mitzvah ones.
Yeah,
I'm getting one. Good.
yeah. Bar Mitzvah Visitor Star, 1967, and he was mesmerized. And then there was a kiddush, and he was really taken in. And by the kiddush, they announced that Sunday morning the Rav they have shachris, and they have breakfast, and the Rav gives a shir. Okay, it's not only based on Menachem Mendel. So he came, and the Rav had, asks a few shilas and gives answers, and he was mamish taken by it. And he started coming, and he stopped going Sundays back to Star. And in a couple of weeks, he had like incredible transformation in himself. His unbelievable transformation went on, an internal transformation. Morning. And the kids, one Sunday he asked the Shaila. So the Rav asked, "What's your name?" So he said his name is Christopher Benjamin Jr. The Rav said, "You must leave at once. It's also to teach Torah to a goy."
He said, this day and age.
Well, with a name like that, and they probably knew who his father was also, Yahat Hashem.
The problem is when people teach classes like Rabbi Men's Friedman online,
Right. We'll talk about it.
third of their
This is what we're going to talk about. So what happened? He left. He left. In the article, the rabbi's name is Rabbi Shammai. I don't know if it's really the name, or they set it up as a fruit writer.
went back to Rabbi Hillel.
Exactly. So I'm just chazing the way it's in the article. If you have the magazine in the house, you can look it up yourself. So he went home, and his father was upset. You haven't been here for a few weeks. So he packed up his stuff, and he put it in his car, and he drove to New York, and he showed up at the house of Rebbe Hillel. He said, I wrote an email to you some time ago. You wrote back, if I'm ready to hear the truth, wherever it takes me, I'm ready to hear the truth. And the kid said, Rebbe Hillel started learning with him, and he wanted to be Megaya. Kid said he wanted to be Megaya. He decided he's being Megaya. And after learning, being here in Brooklyn for 2 months, he went back to Nashville. He walked into his house with a yarmulke and tzitzis, and his father gave him a shuga. He told him to leave and never to come back. And he told him, you don't have to bother talking. Oh, I forgot the main part of the story. He was engaged. There's the richest family in Star, Tennessee, who owned a chain of stores all over the region, was the Hallister family. And they had a Bas Yechida. And the pastor made a shidduch. The pastor made a shidduch with Mr. Hallister that the daughter, Mr. Hallister's Bas Yechida, will get married to
youngest son.
Yeah, to his youngest son. In ve'agefen be'in ve'agefen. So the father told him that he shouldn't bother calling the girl because he's going to call the Hallisters and let them know that he joined that he's a Gavarim Meshuga and that the Shidduch is off. Okay, he said that he wants to become a Yid anyway, so he was happy. Kitzer, the Reb Hillel sent him to Eretz Yisrael, and he learned in a yeshiva of Bali Tshuva, and he was very matzliach. He learned there for a couple of months, and then the Rosh Yeshiva advised him to start looking into shidduchim. So they were matzia girl, and it was the day before they were going to get engaged. And he figured he wants to call, tell his parents. It's like, mamish, he had no shaykh with his parents. He called, his father hung up the phone on him. The mother actually was very happy. She said she said she would not be part of his life, but she's very happy about it. Next day, he gets a call from the girl, from the Hallister girl, and she's crying. She said, I hear you're about to get engaged. So he said, you never called me. And I never called you. So I figured my father told me it's off. She said, yeah, your father called and said that you joined the satanic group. It was Gevara Meshuggah. So she tells him, you're Avadia, you're proficient in the Bible. What's the third commandment? You made a commitment. We're engaged. So he said, look, I'm Jewish now, and I can't be engaged to a goy. It's not an engagement. She said, what are you talking about? I'm Jewish. So he fainted. I'm just telling you the way to tell the story. Wow. And so he asked his Rosh Hashiva. Is it Rosh Hashiva called Rabbi Shammai in to be Mavar Biru Yadis in Nashville? So the rabbi said you wouldn't hear a crazy story. He says there's a pastor here, Alaves Nazamudi de Kerosha. He's an anti-Semite. And there is one of his big balabatim is Agan Samaisave, and he said his son became a sugar, disappeared, no one ever heard of him again. But the girl he was engaged in, it turns out she's Jewish. Her Bubby Gittel Cohen was a survivor of Auschwitz. She came to Tennessee. She married a Yid, Yisrael Schwartz. They actually were Shem Shabbos, but their daughter went off the derech, and she married this Mr. Hallister. And and now this girl is learning with my wife. So it was nisbara that she was taka. She was be'emes a kosher yid. That got a bobet given bitter teren that her only daughter went off the derech, and her granddaughter is off the derech, and it's those gebeten in himmel. So anyway, the girl said that if he's still interested, she'd like to marry him. And the end of the article was that he asked Mechila from the girl that he was about to get engaged to, and he taka married the girl that he originally promised to marry, Ketas Moshe Yisrael in Yerushalayim Yirakodesh a few months ago. So,
Did her parents come?
huh?
Did her parents come to the wedding?
I don't know. It didn't say. It didn't say. It seems that his father was not there at the wedding. So,
They probably didn't let him from the airport.
So to the emissaries, there's no there's it's a very inspirational story. You see that in the article it said that he couldn't go back to the church because he felt uncomfortable with the psalm that were on the wall. You see what Ora Chaim HaKadosh says, Gershon is guy, what should say Gershon is guy, it says Gershon is guy because he has already a Yiddish neshama. You see Tak a lot of times with Gadim that once the light is kindled, that you see mamish b'muchish that they have a Yiddish neshama that was always there. It was always a Yiddish neshama. You could push it, see it. The thing is, there's a whole discussion about taka learning Torah with a goy. Most poskim say there's a story with Hillel. That Hillel learned. So all the poskim asked, like, how did Hillel learn Torah with him? He said he wants to be a kohen gadol. So Tosfos answers that Rebbe Akiva knew begoidel chachmosoi or bekedushasoi that the kohen gadol, kohen gadol, nish kohen gadol, is not going to make a difference. It's not once he'll become a yid, he'll understand that he's not going to be a kohen gadol. It's nothing. The Mashal says that no, he learned with him enough Torah until he understood that he can't be a kohen gadol, and then was megayerim. Be it as it may, all the poskim discuss you're learning Torah with a guy. So all the poskim say, look, if he's about to be megayer, you're allowed to learn Torah. But otherwise, there's a big machlokes in the poskim. What, like you're saying, that you're learning Torah on the internet, and there's a guy that could learn Torah from it. It's a big discussion. But basically, there is a shitta in the Rishonim, it's brought in the Yam Shlomo Sachet Baba Kama, that the only thing you're not allowed to really learn with a goy is soy de satoira. Soy de satoira. But here is the tongue twister.
Kabbalah?
Yeah, soy de satoira. Al pi soid, you're not allowed to learn with them even one word of nigla de Torah. The Zohar says, these are the words of the Zohar. The Zohar says in Parshas Akhrei Mois Daf Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. I'm reading to you from the Sdei that brings a whole discussion. Koman de lois gaze, v'yaven la'afilo ois ze'ira de raisa, a goy that didn't have a bris milah. If you give him even one small ois of the Torah, ki'ila chor of alma, you're destroying the world. Umishake b'shmo de kutchebrich.
Wow.
It's tough, yeah. And the Taka Sefer Cheredim hold the same thing. That's also Lilma Dimgoy, Afilo Isachis. Shenk in the Yam Shlomo Taka, as I mentioned, Baba Kama Daf Lametes says that no, as long as you're not teaching him the side of Satoida. No. Yeah, we're talking about a goy. Yeah, you're right. They're talking about a goy. I'm going back to the story that Rabbi Shammai kicked him out of because he came to the breakfast and they're learning Torah. I take him to kick out a goy. So could be whoever wrote the article decided to call him Shammai Hillel because it goes good. But Aliba de Emes is if a goy comes.
You can check with the Rabbi Shammai. Yeah, sure.
If a goy comes and so it's taka, it's not so posh at Apidinya Mukhif to kick him out. Never mind if you think he might be a guide and there might be something hiding over here. But even if you know it's a suffix shokl, there's a lot of time people come, and we had a very funny story. There was a shvatza that showed up over here. It was so short, so lavdafka anyone remembers. Huh? I don't think it was last summer. It was 2 summers ago. There's a shvatza kid showed up, and he told me he wants to be Megai. I send people. But he seemed very
Dominion.
Huh?
Need a dominion.
But exactly. So I called up. He said he's from Jacksonville, Florida. So I called the shliach there, and he said, yeah, he started to come to Sunday morning shurim, and he was so inspired. He packed his bags and his family. He said goodbye, and he went to New York, and he's very serious about it. And he was dating a girl, and anyway, he came here, and we were very makad of him in Beis Menachem.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, it's a very funny story. He went the other way around. He was here we invited him for Suda Shabbos, everything. We were very makad of him. After he was here for 3 weeks, he disappeared.
You
So
never saw him again?
I never saw him again. So I called after a week or two. I called the shliach. He said, you wouldn't believe it. He came back and he decided he's not a yid. It's not for him.
He didn't McGuire, did he?
No, he was not. I was going to be Meganim. I thought he was very sincere. And he went back, and the girl the girl decided she does want to be Jewish, and she went somewhere, and it went the other way. But it's funny, as long as he was in Jacksonville, Florida, for a long time, he was like thinking and thinking and thinking, and he came here, and we were very makad of him. Mamish, I remember it was every Fabrengen, he sat next to me, but that was it. He didn't have an neshama. That's if
He never told you if anything was bothering him?
No, we had that's it. He didn't. One day he packed his bag and he went back. Elamai, why? Because he's taking not a yid. He was taking not a yid. It wasn't meant. It wasn't meant. His nisbared. He was very inspired. It was very nice.
What about games that come a year and then go back? What happens?
There's another discussion.
I heard that people who become gerim, they were from the nations that when they were
Right.
the Torah,
Right.
the ones who wanted to.
Right.
It's
one of the exactly one of the Shedeb says this word. Okay.
We still have the problem. Have it.
That's why I said that. So if you're according to Yam Shlomo, as long as you're not teaching it's mutter.
Okay, but what it says, it just says Torah Stam. It doesn't say you still do the Torah.
Okay. So I said there's a shikol adas to sometimes if you're trying to talk to the Yidden and a guy comes in and there's a few considerations here. So you could be makel. Yeah, I think there's room
Yeah,
to be
but
makel
how can a gayer become a gayer?
without learning.
Without at least seeing something and learning. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I'm saying. It's exactly what I'm saying.
Some guy gave him a hard time the other.
About what?
Which does very well with that.
Oh,
What?
trust me, he didn't leave because of that. I know we were makar of him very much. He left because he had a goyish neshama. It wasn't then. There's no question. Um, okay. I mentioned on Shavuos, I mentioned that there's a lot of shuls that the Baal K'riah reads, and sometimes it happens he makes a mistake. Are you mechuyev to fix him or not mechuyev to fix? So I mentioned that I saw something when a lot of times when I give a shiur and I'm inspired, I type it up. It takes me many hours, and I publish it in this place called the Oros Biyurim. Why do I like to publish it here? Because it's a free publication. It's not. They don't try to be fancy schmancy. The Lubavitcher Rebbe Zecher Tzadik Levrocha used to look in here. I remember Shabbos. He used to come down. He used to look, and he used to sometimes talk about it on Shabbos, a question or a discussion, especially if it was in Shut Shemikra on Chumash and Rashi. So I saw an article that someone wrote. I agree and disagree with a few points, but there's an unbelievable story that he brings at the end of his piece. So basically, the story that he brings is from a sefer which I couldn't find on the Oitzach Chochma. Is the first Rav in Bnei Brak, Rabbi Yaakov Landau. He was a darling in Beis Rav in Rostov when the Rebbe Rashab ran from Lubavitch in the First World War, and he ended up in Rostov. Rabbi Yaakov Landau was one of the Talmidim that was with him. And he said it was that he read in Parshas Vayechi and he made two mistakes, not star mistakes, two big mistakes. And the Rebbe Rashab said nothing. By the meal, he called him over and he told him, "I want you to know that I noticed that you made a mistake. It was two things. One is there were two mistakes, but not stars like Vayiru Achi Yosef, Vayero Achi Yosef, Vayiru Achi Yosef. It's a big difference. Vayero Achi Yosef, Vayiru." And he made that mistake, and he writes in the story that the Rebbe Rashab didn't want to correct him, he didn't want to be mevayishim. He didn't want to be mevayishim, so he kept quiet. By the meal, he called him over and he told him, "By the way, you made a mistake." So this is a massive ma'aseh. Not only he didn't correct him he didn't correct him on a major mistake, and so and he noticed the mistake. So it's a Maiserav that was done by the Rebbe Rashab, and I want to look into it. So let's read quickly in the paper.
What do they do in the Chabad? Do they correct the people?
Well, this is what I want to establish. What needs to be done in Chabad and what not.
It's one thing in shul. Wherever you go, if Baal makes a mistake,
Everyone loves to fix it. I hate that, and I want to establish my shitta because I really dislike this thing of correcting the Baal K'riah. There could be a gvul on this, but this is what I want to talk about.
By the way, there's two, Baal K'riah myself,
Yeah,
Baal K'riah, by the way.
Yeah.
Baal K'riah is myself, two things that people, that I don't like, for people here. Number one, somebody's going back in the shul, or it's good back in the shul. He's not near the Baal K'riah, he's not near the shul.
and
He doesn't hear properly,
he's fixing.
and he's fixing.
Yeah.
Number one.
Number two,
Number two is there are things I'm not familiar as much as
and Nuzo.
and I think that you don't have to correct.
This is what we're going to talk about.
Because it's not.
Doesn't Mishana Dinya. Okay, let's talk about it first.
What it means.
Let's talk about it. Look inside. The second question. Kosav Atur Simen Kuf Mem Beis. Kosav Bal Hamanik. Im to akoyre achazn amakra oisek. Toiv sheloi lagi alov al shiga goysa barabim. Sheloi lahalbim ponav. That you shouldn't be malbim ponav into Yid. Ab bishakor tobo yotzi the kriya kedisa beredishim kora la Aaron. Horon yotza. Aaron and Horon are not the same person. They're very, very different people. Still yotza. The Rambam zal kosa kora beto afila bediktuk ois achas. Machzir enoisa achi kreena bediktuk. So it's a machlokes between the Balamanik and the Ramban. The Rambam says, "I feel ois achas you have to machzir." It's Yosef writes, "Because of Balamanik, ko akoido echazna makroisa tevchelo lagia." Al Shigigose v'chulu dafa pishe toba yotze they kriya disa b'medishim Kollel Aaron Horn yotza. Toises kose berish perik ima midin ma voide zore daf chav beis. Pirush af pishe loy kore alef kose mari ben chaviv זה שקוסם תא קורא מחזיר נויס קוש למש קוס על מייל בשם הראש שאין ציבי יוצא בלתי בקריאה בלתי ידוע בלתי יודע. Earlier we brought from the Rosh that a guy doesn't know what he's doing when he's reading, you're not Yoitza. Yesh loymar ki zeh diovet. Tivi Rosh lechatchila. Hoyd yesh loymar ki zeh shekotza bal amanig ubetoz she'en beishinu inya. V'tivri Rosh b'taimim she'en pirush ha'posek mamish. The second answer is that depends. A small mistake or a big mistake. A small mistake, let it roll. A big mistake, you have to stop it. Mamshich, the Beis Yosef, Rambam Kosev Pedic, Yud Beis Mehilchas, that in the Halacha of Kriyas HaTorah, part of it, the Kosev, Agos Maimonius. Shnira Laverayim, the Kersini B'Yerushalmi, V'nayin L'Targum the Ksivi, Yikor B'Sefer Teres Moshe, Yikor B'Sefer Zamikra Mefuris the Targum V'Shem Seichel L'Matayimim, V'Yavinu Zeh Masayris Amar B'Yene Avagav Dit Menen Targum Ma'akev Toh Machzir Noisek. The B'Yonah said that the Targum is not Ma'akev, but if you made a mistake in the Targum, you have to be Ma'akev. Kol Shkein L'Diktuk from the Pasuk itself. The Alfinen Amim Ha'ikra, V'Rebbeinu Menoich V'Yirayim D'Abinim V'Perik Chelek V'Sanedin V'Tzadik Tes. Kol Aimer Kol HaTorah Min Hashem Chutz Mediktuk Echad There is a B'chal Dvar Hashem Bozer. V'Kivin Shediktuk Echad Yesh L'Shoyrish Godel Tzorach Shelo Yaniach Hanod V'Lo Yonid Anoch V'Lo Yirapa Achozik V'Lo Yachzik Arof Ad Kan. The linear Lavirayim the Geresin B'Yerushalmi Megillah the Emedaktim B'Toseh Mefarish Kegoin Ben Yehudim La Yehudim Mashmad Afke B'Megillah Ekila B'Sefer Torah Medaktim. So basically, there's two Yerushalmis plus a Bavli. Two Yerushalmis, basically, it's mashma pretty clear from the Yerushalmi that if a person makes a mistake, you have to be machzir. But there's also the Bavli. The Bavli is like a funny raya. It says that if a person says that one diktuk min HaTorah is not min HaShemayim, that's terrible. What's the nafkamina between the reasons? A simple nafkamina. If you say because of the Bavli, so that means he has to do it intentionally. He says, what's the difference? Hold you know, the joke, iceberg, Goldberg, it's a Zabazach. Listen, iceberg, Goldberg, it makes a very big difference. So if he's frivolous about it, he says it makes no difference. Aaron Horan, you have to be machzir. But if he made a mistake, he's not saying, Aaron Horan, makes no difference. It's a mistake. So then why should you correct him? But if you say the other reason that the Yerushalmi says, that the Pasuk says, Vayikru b'sefer, and mefurish, v'shum seichel, you have to read it, b'diktuk. So even if he was b'shgoga, it was b'tos, you have to fix it. The Bach, there's a very strong Bach. Look at the next paragraph. The Bach writes, V'hai shenu a lesson, the Baal Amanik v'ade b'chol tos kama, sheyotza. This, that we made a difference, if the mistake was a strong mistake or a weak mistake, is not true. That the manig meant to be saying by every mistake, sheyotza medikosa b'stam v'lechilek v'ochi nog kabala manig the loka ramba miudavke diovel lechatchila tzarich lachzerachem shatz haboki b'kiriya kamashkosa v'rashu poshetu lechatchila v'shteitzach you have to get a Baal K'riah that could read very good. Okay, so the Shulchan Aruch writes, it's the next paragraph. Simen Kuf Mem Beis if Aleph Korav Torah Afilo Bediktuk Ois Achs Machzir Noise. Sagt Ramo v'chein din achaz nakoyde v'tafke shinish mishtan al yedei zeho inyan aval im tov beneginas atam benikut machzir noise. It has to be a shinui that changes the inyan, but otherwise avogoyim boy. So from the psak in the Shulchan Aruch is mashma bein b'shoigig bein b'mezid, that you have to fix it. Elamite, there's a difference if it's a big mistake or a small mistake. Fragt the Shaila, since that's the halacha, that even a small mistake you're supposed to correct him, why did the Rebbe Rashab, when Rabbi Yaakov Landau had geleint, and he made a mistake, and a dovish, a mishana inyan, vayiru achi Yosef. So he said, vayiru achi Yosef. How come the Rebbe Rashab, who realized that he made the mistake, waited till afterwards and not matakim? The Torah, the Olam was not Yotzei Kriyas HaTorah. So You can answer several answers. One is you could say that maybe he felt that halbonas upon him, the Shulchan Aruch was not talking in a case of halbonas upon him.
What's that?
That you're not a Baal b'pnei chaveda barabim, and that could be a Isa min HaTorah. And if
Today everybody does it. It's not done a bias.
why is it not mevayish? It's very plenty mevayish. I think it's
It doesn't make it
so
right.
it doesn't make it right. Now the thing is like this. I don't like this teretz because bestimus a Shulchan Aruch is mashma that you're supposed to fix him and you ignore the idea of albonus pon. But you could argue one way or the other way. But I think the main thing is that the Rebbe Rashab might have relied on the Bach. The Bach said, argued on the Shulchan Aruch. Well, usually we follow the Shulchan Aruch. But there are things that we do follow the Bach. There are famous things. This is the issue of Yoshan and Chodosh, which in Eastern European Jews always followed the Bach and Mekel on it. Sometimes we follow the Bach, and the Bach said that not to be metaken, even a shini that's mishana the Inyan. The truth is, you could add to it. Halbonas ponim is a very serious thing. So when the Bach is arguing in the Shulchan Aruch, and the Bach says you never fix. What was the reason of the Baal Amanik? The meaning was that you're embarrassing. It's halbonas ponim. So
But skipping a word, you got a lot of correct. They skip a word.
Skip a word? As you asked a good point. I don't know. The story was that he said a word that's mishana the Inyan, but he didn't skip a word. So, and I'll tell you furthermore, if a person skips a word and you tell him you're probably not being mal bin pono, you know what I mean? If a person may said the word one way, you're telling him the havora that he said it was wrong. That's a little bit albonas ponim. It could yes or not be albonas ponim. If a person forgot to say a word and you reminded him to say the word, usually it's not albonas ponim.
But if he's a minus person, he wants you to.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, bottom line is, I want to establish that first of all, in Beis Menachem Mendel, we have the best Baal K'riah in the world. He's going
right 100%.
And he's going for surgery at Mitzvah Shem on Monday. Yaakov Zev ben Sima should have a refuah shlema, should have atzlocha, and he should walk on his 2 feet. He should walk very good. Okay, I'll just finish off with one small thing about sleeping. There's a thing that's brought Neimek HaMelech from the Arizal that a person should try to sleep on Shabbos by day. That's what the Arizal said. Now, who are we to be medama to the Arizal? We know the story that Arizal slept on Shabbos, and one of the Reb Chaim B'Talver said that his lips were moving, and he asked him, and he told him he learned in heaven, Parshas Bolak and Bilam, Soidas HaTorah would take him 80 years to tell him what he learned. So who are we to compare to that Arizal? But Lapoil, that's what the Emek HaMelech brings, that mitzvah lishon shinas tzarayim b'Shabbos, mashenkim b'chayla sheshinas tzarayim mazik lanesham. That's what the Emek HaMelech brings. And the Rebbe says that in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, he said b'feidish mashma that there's not a mitzvah to sleep on Shabbos. Alter Rebbe writes that a person that always sleeps in the afternoon also Shabbos could sleep. It's mashma. It's not a special mitzvah to sleep on Shabbos. The Rebbe says it's not a kasha in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch Harav, because, as you know, the Rebbe's grandfather, the Shara Kollel, writes that they asked the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe said that there was whenever there's a machloikis of the Mekubalim and the Poiskim say the halacha is like the Poiskim, and the Mekubalim say the halacha is like the Mekubalim. In the Shulchan Aruch he paskin like the Poiskim, and in the city he paskin like the Mekubalim. So since it's in the Shulchan Aruch Harav, he just said the din, and this thing from the Arizal is api Kabbalah. But the Gufi Shalinyan, the Rebbe says a little bit of a pella. There is a Tzavos Harivosh says that a person should take a nap every day, middle of the day. Here's where the Tzavos Harivosh. The Ravosh says, "V'yahapach haleilis leyomim v'yeshem b'yom kamashos k'dei sheyaspek le'ma'at shina b'layla." Then he says, "Shkom b'chatzos layla v'neifel of shina yelech l'kano l'kam b'bayis v'yoshir v'shinos v'shlishbochas." When he wakes up middle of the night and he's drowsy, and he had already a coffee and two a sadish geholfen, he should walk in his house ona v'ona and gain a tencel. He should sing a little bit. V'yagbia koiloi kedei lahasim elav hashena. Then he said, Yilma harbe shiurim, v'loy hakol inyan echet, she'enir alav kimasui, v'rak yilma dinyonim harbe, v'zeh goyrem la'aser hashena halozu. Interesting. One second. The Baal Shem Tov said that the Eitzah is get up middle of the night, look in a pencil. Then when you learn, you shouldn't just learn, say you have in your schedule. You have to learn 5 daf Gemara, you have to learn 3 Perek Rambam, Chumash, you're learning, you shouldn't just you should like jump around. Like those, if you remember, I had the schus to be at the Rebbe's Fabrengens from 1981. The Rebbe used to jump around. If the Rebbe Fabreng even for 7 hours, the Rebbe would talk, and he would ask, like an Arachi, 17 questions. Then he would stop, sing, and would talk about a Rambam. Then he would talk about something. Then he would get back to answer, like to jump around. This is what Baal Shem Tov says. So the third of the Baal Shem Tov says to sleep every day, middle of the day. But the Arizal Zoktach, it's mazik l'neshama. It says it's mazik l'neshama. So the Rebbe says that the answer is, it depends about who we're talking about. The Baal Shem Tov there's an Indian to learn by night. Chazal say that a person that wants to learn Torah shouldn't lose any, because by night is a beautiful time to learn Torah. So it depends why you're sleeping by day. That is, I was talking about a person that's wants to chapa dremel in the middle of the day, because he wants to sleep in the middle of the day. So that he says is mazik lanasham, and you know what? It's been proven that's mazik laguf. There's a very interesting study. The Spanish have a siesta. Meshlafte mittentag. Mittentag meshlafte by nacht mehulet. Why? Because Mistama, I think, I don't know, because they were rich society, very, very rich people, going back hundreds of years, and now they're almost shvela. They're always almost shvela, but I'm saying that they were rich, and for a time when they had Yidden living there, they were wealthy, because wherever the Yidden live, there is Hatzlach in that Medina. So they had a style by Nacht hat man gehulet, Ishtok Nacht, like a boch in yeshiva. And they used to go to sleep, who knows, 2:00 in the morning, 3:00. And then they'd get up. That's the way it goes in Spain. And then they get up and and in the middle of the day, Mishlaft Fatzvei Dreisha. And then Cholila. And studies show that they end up sleeping less in the 24 hours. They end up having much less productivity. Much less productivity. Studies show that Dafka, a person that works hard and doesn't let himself take a nap and then conks out by night, Chazal say, Yashanti ve'oz yanuachli. Oz, the Rambam says, is a remes that the person has to sleep for 8 hours. 8 hours. I'm saying this
8 hours today.
As I said once, a story that when the Gra was a child, he slept for only 2-3 hours a night or 4 hours, and they would go back and learn. And his mother said that they have to sleep more hours. So he said to his mother, "They say that I'm brilliant. I'm a ilui. What's the meaning? What's a ilui? If it's someone could learn this Gemara in 10 hours, a ilui could learn it in 5 hours. So what someone would sleep in 8 hours, I could sleep in 4 hours. So I'm mentioning this is because I'm a Rav for 28 years. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a medical doctor, but I have to say we see Divrei Chazal is mamish that way. People tell me they have this ailment, that ailment. Medaf shlof. Chazal say that memutza is 8, so not 8 hours. It could be 7 hours. It could be 6 hours, but it has to be that a person sleeps. That person has to. Rambam says, "Hey Yosef guf bori medake Hashem hu." So the studies show that this thing doesn't work, the siesta in the middle of the day. And that's taka what Arizal says, it's mazik. The Arizal says it's mazik. So the Rebbe answers that what's the pshat in the Baal Shem Tov? The pshat in the Baal Shem Tov is a person that wants to wake up a chatzois halayla and to do tikkun chatzois and learn the rest of the night, he'll have a special siyata d'shmaya. But medaftach shlofen, to sleep at hours every night, 4 hours, so that's why you should be mashlim by sleeping 3 hours during the day, a little bit during the day. Usually it's mazik laguf or mazik lanashama. That's what the Baal Shem Tov is telling you, that if you're doing it l'shem shemayim, in order to wake up a chatzois, to do tikkun chatzois, and then to learn Torah adalois shachar, and then to make a chonis l'tfil and go to the mikveh, and for that reason you're sleeping 2-3 hours in the middle of the day, you'll have a special siyata d'shmaya that you won't be nizik. You'll have a special, like by night when you do Kishma Shalamita, there's a piece to say that Yirotzen that I should be able to wake up Chatzos Alayla and private tikkun Chatzos, and I shouldn't have there shouldn't come to me shum nezek from it. Why do we say that? Because a person that wakes up every night Chatzos could be nizik. The Gashmi is because he's not sleeping enough. He's not letting his body rejuvenate. So the Hashem Tov said that it's not enough to say that Yirotzen. You have to also sleep for 2-3 hours in the middle of the day. The Baal Shem Tov, the Rizal Zerk, that's Mazik is Neshama. The scientists say it's Mazik the Guf. No, if you're doing L'Shem Shemaim, don't worry about it.
Slept.
I'll tell you because I'll finish off with a story. There's a younger man that married a girl in the shul from a Chosh of his family. The Zayda is Rav Grossman in Migdala Emek. And he said that his Elta Zayda, he was a Chosid, one of the big Rebbes. And there was a Tzora Gedoyle by Yidden in Eretz Yisrael, and they sent him with a kvittel to the Rebbe. And they sent him from Eretz Yisrael to go by boat to bring it to, I forget which Rebbe it was. He was here a few months, he's a shlich in China, and he comes here, and he told us by Fabrengen a couple of months ago, here in Beis Menachem Mendel. And his Zayda, which is great-grandfather to the famous Rabbi Yisrael Grossman, who was Rav in Migdal Emek, said he never slept on Shabbos. He said you have to be shomer Shabbos. How could you be shomer Shabbos?
If
you're sleeping, a shomer that sleeps is not a shomer. How could you be? You can't be shomer Shabbos. So he was on the boat, and he got very, very tired. He got very, very, very tired, but he doesn't sleep. So he went on the deck of the boat. He went on the back of the boat, and it's on him zingas midas. All of a sudden, a person came out with a big hat, an up hat, and sat down next to him in a chair, sitting as the breeze is going. It was a nice night. And they started talking. And turns out it was a Yid. It was a Yid. And, where are you going? Where are you coming? And they had a very friendly conversation for a few hours. What's going on? The kid said it was Baron Hirsch. And he found out that what's going on by the Yidden Eretz Yisrael, that they're suffering, was a machlefus. He said, I am personally going to send money. I'm personally going to send doctors. And it touched his heart. He was a Yid. He was a Gvid.
The firm Jew told him.
Yeah, the firm Jew told him that I'm going now to, it was a Kortikov Rebbe. I remember who. He was going now to Europe, to the Rebbe, to ask him a bracha. There was malaria. I don't know if it was malaria. I don't remember what the machla was. I don't want to say. There was episode machla going around. And Baron Hirsch said, what are you talking about? I'm a Jew. The Yidden are suffering like this in Eretz Yisrael. I'm going to send money. I'm going to send doctors. The Kakava, he sent doctors. He sent money. V'chulu v'chulu. And it was la Yehudim hoysa oida v'simcha v'sasam v'yikor. Because this guy was a shomer Shabbos. Because he never slept on Shabbos. As we know that Rebbe never slept the Shabbos as a Kiyadua, there was 3 conditions as becoming a son-in-law for the Frierdiker Rebbe, and one of them is that not to sleep even 1 week on Shabbos.
Really?
And Kiyadua that everyone knows that we had
you knocked out.
last year. We had 2 years ago. We had a Fabrengen for Gimel Thomas, and Rabbi Groner, his son, was here, and he said that he was a bacher. He had the schus to be like a shomer behind the Rebbe's door. Friday night they had the 2 bachim would sit there for 6 hours, another 2 bachim. And he said they heard the entire night. They heard Svarim, and they would hear the Rebbe every few hours, getting up, making himself a tea. They could hear from the other side of the door that Rebbe's making himself a tea. He's going back. You can hear click. The tea goes on the table. Again, there's Svarim going in, Svarim going out. Agan Nacht to Gelerim. We're talking the Rebbe was then already in his 90s. Agan Nacht. Yes, tough shit. 92.
He was born in 1904.
1902.
1902. And he had the stroke. He passed away in 1994.
Okay, so he's just 90.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Rabbi Shabbat.
The mitzvah Shem by me and you at the age of 90. Amen v'yamen v'yamen.
Shabbat Shin Bet Tav Shena b'Shabbat Ta'anuk.
Okay.
That's
So the
it.
Chassidim said.
knocked out.
So the Chassidim said Mother sleeping on Shabbos could be a tainuk. So learning Torah would be 100 times more a tainuk. What you could do both. You can sleep like the Arizal and learn Torah while you're sleeping, and then you have all the miles.
You have to be like the Arizal.
Rabbi Morozov, my father